All right, guys. So there's a disturbing trend going on among young kids, particularly in school, that is quite concerning. Okay, as they're kids that are apparently trying to identify as cats, and there's an insane story about how a school is going out of their way to compensate these kids who are allegedly identifying as cats and animals. But before we get into that, I don't really like doing this, but I'm gonna have to start doing it a lot because of YouTube censorship. I just received a strike on my channel, which made it so I couldn't upload for a week, and because of that, I'm no longer feeling comfortable, not hedging myself against the YouTube censorship. So with that being said, guys, I want you guys to, please consider, if you haven't already, donating to the Patreon. If you want to, check out my PayPal, check out my merch. If you want to support me in any way, I encourage you to do so. That is the best way to keep this channel up. Also, you can start to check me out on other platforms like Rumble. I'm gonna start posting there again because it's at the point where YouTube seems to not be reliable. I've tried my best to, stay within the community guidelines on certain issues, specifically when it comes to the pandemic. But however, sometimes you're going to get a strike anyway. So with that being said, I just, at this point, I'm going to have to start doing some other things to keep this channel afloat, to continue to do what I do. So I'm just saying, please consider supporting if you can. You don't have to, but I'm just saying, please consider supporting if you can. As this parent at Midland Public Schools out in Michigan, basically at a school board meeting, revealed that the school was putting litter boxes in the unisex bathrooms so that, I'm assuming, kids that identify as cats can use the bathroom.
The agenda that is being pushed through our schools is just my opinion, but somewhat nefarious when it comes to some of the activities. So let's talk about furries. It was addressed by a child a couple months ago that they are put in an environment where there are kids that identify as a furry, a cat or a dog, whatever. And so yesterday I heard that at least one of our schools in our town has in one of the unisex bathrooms, a litter box for the kids that identify as cats. And I am really disturbed by that. And I will do some more investigation on that. I know it's going on nationwide. I know it is. It's part of the agenda that's being pushed. I don't even want to understand it. But I think that people need to be aware of it, because I am really upset as a parent that my child is put in an environment like that. And I'm all for creativity and imagination, but when someone lives in a fantasy world and expects other people to go along with it, I have a problem with that. So I'm just putting that out there. I will investigate more.
All right, guys, so that's a crazy, crazy, crazy accusation. But here's the thing. This is not the first time that we have heard about kids identifying as cats or animals in school, right? There was a story about a teacher who says that she was fired because she refused to meow back to a student who identifies as a cat. Okay, so hearing this story from this parent saying that there are kids that are identifying as animals and cats and stuff like that, it's totally believable. I think where it kind of goes off the rails is when she talks about how the school goes as far as to put litter boxes in the unisex bathrooms in order to compensate those students. That, in my opinion, is absolutely insane. And the superintendent is denying this, right? They're saying that this is not true, that they're not litter boxes in the public schools there, that this is false. This is what they're saying, right? But the article that accompanies this, it goes into details about students who actually do identify as what they call furries, right? Okay, so the litter box thing might not necessarily be true, but the whole concept of identifying as an animal or something like that, the furry thing, that is true, right? That does happen. So who knows? Maybe this parent was telling a joke. Maybe they was telling a joke. And with that being said, I don't know if this story is true or not, but I do think it's a conversation worth having, considering the stories that we heard in the past and how this seems to be a trend. So regardless of whether or not it's true, just the fact that a parent even heard something like this, I think it's disturbing. But in 2022, at this point, anything is believable. Anything is believable. So knowing those two stories, right? That teacher was out in California. This woman right here is in Michigan. So it's like, okay, this probably is a trend that's going on around the country, right? In which students are just saying, you know what, I identify as whatever I want to identify as, which makes this disturbing and hilarious at the same time, right? Because again, we have this, ideology and this push in society to say, hey, you know what, you can identify as whatever gender that you want to identify as, right? There's a ton of genders out there, okay? Not just two, there's a ton of them, okay? Just based off how you feel. And I made the argument that if that's true, right, if we accept that as reality, right, if we say that that's true, then you also have to accept people identifying as basically whatever they want to identify as because they simply feel like it, right? And I think that is what's happening with a lot of these students who, allegedly are identifying as animals. They're saying, you know what, since I can identify as, whatever gender I want to identify as, why can't I identify as an animal, right? A cat, a dog, a giraffe, an elephant, a monkey, right? Again, that's how far this goes. Okay. And this is why, when people have this conversation about whether or not you can be transracial, I'm like, if you accept, that you can change your genders, then why can't you change your race? Right? Because race is a social construct as well, according to these people, right? So if gender is a social construct, race is a social construct, then you should be able to change that at will, right? And I think that, again, this right here, this example of these students doing this kind of shows you how far this stuff can go and the consequences of, accepting the idea that, hey, you know what, you can be whatever gender that you want to be, right? And you have to be compensated for whatever gender that you want to be, right? Schools go as far as to say, you know what, okay, well, these students identified as cats. Let's put, litter boxes in the bathroom, right? Let's put litter boxes in the bathroom. Perfectly normal stuff, right? Allegedly, because in this case, the school is denying it. The superintendent saying that's not what happened, but wouldn't be surprised, right? Would not be surprised by anything in 2022. So, one part of me, I think it's disturbing that students are taking it this far. But another part of me finds it hilarious because, again, it reveals the fallacy in, all this stuff going on in the first place. And how this whole I can identify as whatever I want to identify as movement, the flaws in the thinking and the logic associated with it. Because, again, how far does this go? Okay, how far does this go? Okay. And obviously you can see kids, because they're very imaginative, they can take it pretty far, right? Pretty far. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.